Thank you. It's beautiful reading. Because this is our stewardship sermon, and is part of my series entitled We Are, the letter R UUs, challenging myself to preach on things starting with the letter R, I chose for the title of this message to be Responsibilities and Rewards. Certainly we think of those things when we think of giving to our congregation. I remembered that Jesus shared a parable about responsibilities and rewards, the parable of the talents. And I thought I could use that. But I never really liked that parable. I'll tell Jesus. So I thought, well, maybe if I retold it as a modern day story, it would be better. And to do that, I had to rely on Google to determine what a talent in Jesus' day was worth, then to get out my calculator to see the approximate equivalent today. So with that in mind, I share with you the Jane Page adaptation of Jesus's parable of the talents. A successful businesswoman was taking a government position which will require her to release the management of all her business operations to others. To a very talented executive, she assigned holdings equivalent to $2,500,000. To another talented executive, she assigned holdings equivalent to $1 million. And to a third, more inexperienced employee, holdings equivalent to $500,000. When her term of office with the government agency ended, she returned to her business and asked for their reports. The first executive shared data indicating the investments and risks took with their holdings doubled in value, now worth $5 million. The businesswoman said, "Well done. You've proven you can handle these holdings and you are worthy of a promotion." The second executive was also successful in doubling the value of holdings, which were now worth $1 million. The businesswoman said, "Good for you. You've shown you've got what it takes, and I'm rewarding you with a promotion." The third executive shared with the business owner, "Pardon me, but I knew of your tough business dealings and that you would be hard on anyone who did not take care of your possessions. So I dared not take any risks that might devalue your holdings, but they are still here at approximately the same value as before." The businesswoman said, "Well, I'm ashamed to have you and your laziness as part of this company. You're fired." Well, translating it into a modern day parable doesn't make it feel any better, does it? I mean, she entrusted them according to their capabilities. So she perhaps should have been a little more lenient with her expectations of that third employee. Well, why did Jesus tell the parable of the talents? And why am I repeating it? Well, because there's some lessons here. First, whatever we possess in terms of time, talents, and treasure doesn't really belong to us. Regardless of your theology, you know you can't take any of it with you. What you have been given or earned or won in the lottery is like those talents given to the servants or those holdings given to the business executives. They really belong to something bigger. Some may say God, others say humanity, still others may say the universe. We are stewards of these possessions. How we share or invest our time, talents, treasure should be something that can make a positive difference in not only our own lives, but the lives of others and the world we live in. Folks, that's why they call it stewardship. Today is when we kick off our stewardship drive, with me giving what some call the Sermon on the Mount. Now, of course, not all our members use Zoom, and they are not all here to hear this. But it's like the two guys that had the accident and ended up marooned on a deserted island. One paced back and forth, worried and scared, while the other man sat back and was sunning himself. The first man said to the second man, "Aren't you afraid we're about to die?" "No," said the second man. "I make $10,000 a week, tithe faithfully to my church each week. It's stewardship month at my church. They will find me." And indeed, we will find a way to get this word to all our members and friends, because we don't want any to miss out on the opportunity. So back to our theme. What is our responsibility to this congregation and to Unitarian Universalism? And what is our reward? Because we're Unitarian Universalists, response to these questions aren't as clear-cut UUs as they are for some others. The idea of tithing, of giving 1/10 of your income, is an ancient one, showing up not only in ancient Hebrew scripture, but as a practice of other Near Eastern ancient cultures as well. Some say Jesus opposed tithing since he criticized some who did. His criticism was they did this very publicly and lived unrighteous lives. In fact, he lifted up those who gave all their possessions away. In the year 567, there was a council of bishops at Tours, France, that reinforced tithing as in accord with divine law, since they were instituted by God himself. And Constantine and others made supporting the church part of the tax structure. And some other state churches began to collect mandatory tithes through taxation, and some still do. Our spiritual ancestors in the New England churches did the same until laws were established separating church and state. The idea of tithing then became voluntary. Some religious organizations, however, withhold certain privileges of the church, like entering a Mormon temple, until you settle up with the bishop. And they use your income tax records to determine that. But I'm not here to lift up or condemn any particular practices. I'm just saying that we certainly have more freedom in determining what we will share to be members of this congregation. I applaud that. At the same time, I think that many are missing out by not giving as a spiritual practice and giving to this faith tradition in the first fruits tradition, not what's left at the end of the month. I and many others who follow this first fruit practice have checks that come out automatically this congregation. I set up my check to be sent shortly after my biggest check, which is my pension check. When it comes into my account, right after that is when I have it set up for my money to this church and my other church to come out. So I know it's in there to be taken care of. Our association provides a giving guide that is helpful and is based on income and how you see yourself and the support you want to give. It moves from supporter to sustainer, visionary, either. I'm hopeful that most of you would want to be at the sustainer level or above. We've done a good job of stretching our funds and giving for special needs, but we need gifts that will sustain us for the future as well. I hope this congregation will be going on even after those years when I decide I can't maybe be leading it. We need to be sustaining this congregation. Now, I know that this congregation likes to keep the discussion of what folks give on the down low. But don't worry, I'm not going to talk about what others give. I'm going to share with you what I give. Because I was already pledging the Statesboro congregation and did not want to cut what they had become used to getting when I took this position, I decided that my gift to you all would be a tithe of what you paid to me. Now, through the years, I've made increases to my gifts, and I believe I've just had one salary increase. But now in 2020, I give over 16% of what I get. My husband pledges separately and is also generous. My gifts to the Statesboro congregation, Church of the Larger Fellowship, the UUA, the UU Service Committee, the UU Minister Association are generous as well. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm sharing this to tell you that I personally am invested in this faith. Now, like many of you, I share with other charities as well, but nothing like I share with UU. I'm not asking you to follow my lead. I know that I'm somewhat of an outlier in my love and commitment to Unitarian Universalism. That's okay, because it is so important to me. I invest heavily in it with my time, talent, and treasure. All I'm asking of you is to consider whether you can share more of what you have with this wonderful congregation. You can't take it with you. Our faith is much needed in Southeast Georgia. We are indeed a sanctuary for many folk who do not fit in with other congregations for a variety of reasons. And we can do more. We can reach out more, work for justice more, share more, love more. Will you invest in our mission to truly be a place for open minds, loving hearts, helping hands? The year we are pledging for, 2022, is the year we will celebrate our 25th anniversary of our founding. I'd like to challenge those of you who can consider this milestone by increasing your gift substantially, perhaps by 25% of what you give to honor this anniversary, 25% of what you currently give as a way to honor this anniversary. Now, your president set that challenge for us in the newsletter. I don't know if you've read that yet. And I'm accepting it myself and will raise my pledge by 25%. I know everyone can't do that, but some of you probably can. Do the calculation, see. There is great joy in giving to something that makes a difference. It makes a difference in our lives, and it makes a difference in the lives of others. And we could all use a little joy. And what will be your reward? My daddy used to talk about, I'm going to my reward. What will be your reward? Well, we are not a prosperity gospel church. It claims your gifts to us will bring you greater financial wealth. And since we tend to focus on this life, we make no promises for pie in the sky. Your reward may be your joy in giving, or perhaps you are beyond that and you give like the myrtle in the reading we heard by Gabran, who states that some give, here's the quote, as in yonder valley, the myrtle breathes its fragrance into space. It's just what we do. I got plenty and then some. What do? Gonna help somebody get plenty and then some too. That's what I do. I know you were called on to give to lots of other charities. I am too. And I have favorites. But though I give to other good causes, I find that my greatest blessings as a giver come when I give to the greater good that this congregation and Unitarian Universalism represent as we side with love in this community and in the world. This is the place where we receive our spiritual sustenance and grow those values in ourselves and in our children that make us better givers with other causes. This congregation should be where we give our greatest gifts. And most Unitarian Universalists have the resources to make meaningful gifts. But unlike other faith communities, many Unitarian Universalists treat their congregations as just another charity, like GPB or something. Although Unitarian Universalists are near the top in average income, we are dead last in our giving. Say what? Yes. Although Unitarian Universalists are near the top in average income, we are dead last in our giving among 23 major faith traditions in the United States. Statistics show that folks with lower incomes give a greater percentage to charity. And while most faith traditions challenge folks to tithe, we have very low expectations. We tend to have a fatalistic view of what we can do. But I'm an evangelist for the love we stand for. So like the prophet of old, I'm going to side with love and shout out that we can do better. We can be a part of a congregation that truly can live our principles and values. I believe that in a time when so many folks need a welcoming home, we are standing on the edge of something great. We can be more than a little light in a tiny chalice. We can be a lighthouse, a beacon of love shining out in this community. For the light to shine, we need your gifts. Whatever you give will be honored and appreciated. And if you have very little money to give, that's okay too, because we need for everyone to give of their time and talents if they're able to do so. Now, we have to be careful when we ask folks to give of their time and talent, because some folks readily give and give, and then they get burned out and leave us. I think we've seen some of that happen during this pandemic. We are stretched really thin with folks who feel they can step up. But we don't want folks to leave. We want them to stay with us and be renewed by others. That's the congregation we need to be and that we can be. But we need us some good soup to nourish us. Some good soup. And I have. Here it is. I have the stone. I got the stone for the stone soup. Now this stone is magical because this represents our vision of what we can be. We can be that liberal beacon shining in Southeast Georgia. We can be a congregation that folks know exists because of our visibility, both in terms of our meeting place and in terms of our good works and advocacy for justice and peace. We can be a people that teaches our strong values to our children and reinforces them in us as well. We can be a community of faith where we can nurture and heal ourselves and receive the nourishment to nurture and heal the world. But this vision, this stone by itself will not make the soup. We need for each of us to go back and look into our cupboards and perhaps see what we are hoarding there in terms of our time and our talent and our treasure, and bring them to share in the soup pot for the greater good. And when we do that, we will know that it is a good and joyful gift. I can just smell that wonderful soup now. Good. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be.